Matthew, welcome to the Big Lad podcast. How are we doing?
I'm very good, thanks, mate. Yourself?
Not too bad. The weather's not great today. We did, I think, originally plan to do this in person, didn't we? And try to get out and about somewhere, but the weather's just not playing ball at the moment.
Never know in England, do you? Especially in the summer.
No. Yeah, exactly. So, first of all, would you like to give yourself like a little bit of introduction for the people listening?
Yeah, sure. So, obviously, as you said, my name's Matthew. I'm an online coach, personal trainer. That's my day-to-day job. Aside from that, I'm also an England boxing coach, and I also box amateur as well for my local club up in Rainhill.
Okay, very nice. So, first of all, how did you get involved in all the coaching? Because I think you're fairly new, aren't you? It's 2 or 3 years, I think you mentioned on your Instagram the other day.
Literally just coming past the 2-year mark at the moment. I kind of fell into it, funny enough, as I'm sure a lot of people do. Back pre-pandemic, pre-2020, when the world made sense, I was I was doing a lot of acting work, believe it or not, trying to make it as kind of an actor-performer. Not doing too badly, but, you know, can always be better in that field. And I was essentially looking for kind of a more steady job to pair alongside that, because obviously it's very stop-start. And the idea of being a personal trainer, online coach in particular, where you can just, you know, a lot of the time pick up your laptop and work from anywhere is obviously very attractive in that point. As lockdown hit, I was obviously, as we all were, training at home a lot. I was training with my brother, and he'd kind of said, why don't you just do your qualifications? Why the world's at a standstill? So I did, and then kind of fell into it, really. And the acting didn't really, obviously the pandemic happened, so the acting side kind of went on hold as I started my quals, but then I realised that I love doing it, and 2 years on, well, 2.5, 3 years on from that now, I love it, and I'm really happy I kind of ended up taking this much more as a kind of forefront, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So are you still doing the acting as well on the side now that the world's a little bit more normal?
No, not so much, if I'm honest. Funnily enough, I did shoot a music video about 3 weeks ago, which was the first kind of little bit of acting that I've done probably since 2020. It's a real tough industry. I don't know if you've ever experienced it. It's obviously really cutthroat.
No, I've not got any experience.
It's, as you can imagine, really, really cutthroat. And to be honest, towards 2020, I'd graduated, I think, 2017, so I'd had 3 years auditioning. I'd had a couple of good jobs, couple of jobs I'm quite proud of still, but a lot of stop-start, you know, in between, hospitality jobs, office jobs, anything I could do, really. And I was just getting a little bit kind of disheartened by it all, and then 2020 come along, as sod's law would have it, a couple of days before we went into that first lockdown, I landed a pretty good job that I was quite happy with, but it just got cancelled. It was on cruise lines, so straight away travel industry was the first thing to go. So that just went up in the air, and then towards the end of 2020, my agent let me go as well because there was no work. So that was quite a kick in the teeth at the time. So
far from ideal, yeah.
It's just one of them, isn't it? And other things take precedence. So, as I say, I was getting into the coaching, I was getting into boxing a lot more by the end of 2020, and I was enjoying that. And I'd kind of always held back from the boxing a bit for the acting side. So once I'd started that a bit more, because that had gone on hold, I started enjoying that a bit more anyway. So, yeah.
So how long have you been boxing for now then, or was that started way before when you were a kid, or did that sort of start later in life as well as the PT?
Kind of as a kid. So obviously I've got a twin brother, so that always helps. Our dad boxed growing up and everything. So obviously, as kids, his two lads, obviously, some boxing gloves for Christmas, all that kind of thing. We grew up in a pub as well, so we used to have little sparring matches in the beer garden. You can imagine, like, all the regulars loving that. So I've always had a bit of a background of it, but never really seriously until I was at uni. My brother started boxing when he was living in London at the time. So about a year later, I picked it up when I was down at uni in Chichester. It's a funny old sport though, so I was just training a lot, but I never actually boxed for the club I was training with down there.
Yeah.
And then, as I say, I graduated, acting took the forefront, and it's not really a sport you can kind of half-arse, so I remember my brother having a chat with me saying he doesn't really think I should be doing it if I'm focusing on one, because it's a big commitment.
Yeah.
It's a tough sport, as we all know. So then 2020, I ended up at the club I'm at now, just went to train one day, and I've ended up boxing for them, and I'm loving it. I coach for them now as well, so it's always kind of been kind of part of our lives, all my life, but properly, seriously, as I'd say, is the past 3 years, really.
Yeah, I can't imagine as well turning up to an acting job with a potential black eye is going to be beneficial.
There was a couple of times when I was doing plays at university when I was doing my training where I'd probably sparred the night before and I turned up to like a rehearsal. I remember one instant having a cut on my nose and a little black eye, and it was quite an intensive rehearsal thing, so the shows were like in 6 or 7 days time, and the director I was working with wasn't very happy, and that always stuck with me then when I was going to auditions and that, like professional ones. You don't want to be turning up with like cuts and bruises. It's not the best look, is it?
No. So you'd always had sort of boxing in your life, and then you were obviously doing the acting on the side of it, and then once you sort of fell in love with the boxing side a bit more, you swerved the acting and then got into fighting as well with the boxing.
Yeah.
So how many fights have you had as an amateur?
Only 10. I had my 10th about 2 months ago now.
Nice.
Yeah.
What's the record?
7-3, so I've won 7.
It's not bad.
No, it's not bad. I'm quite happy with it. I really wanted to get to 8-2, which I would have been if I'd won my last one. Still pretty raw losing that one. The other 2 I'd lost were kind of, I know why, just better lads. Do you know what I mean? You kind of accept it, but
yeah.
The last one I really felt was kind of down to myself. If the lad who I boxed is watching this, he's probably fuming me saying that, but I really felt like I'd be watching this at home fuming, thinking rematch this season. But yeah, so it's not the worst record, but I'm quite a competitive person, so you know, can always be better, but we just have to move forward with it. It's done now, he says as he's bringing up again 2 months down the line.
Opportunity.
Yeah.
So, is there any thoughts about taking that potentially professionally?
No.
Or would you prefer to stick amateur?
No, I don't think so. Number one, I'm 30 next year. I'm still new to the sport, kind of bout wise, you know. Under 20 is still kind of classed as novice, and then in the amateurs, and then over 20 bouts you kind of get classed as an elite, like you've earned your stripes and that. So my aim at the minute is just to get up to 20 bouts and see how I feel. I've got my own kind of aspirations with the sport, kind of managing my own expectations, which I'd be quite happy with if I got them. But turning pro is another game. It becomes a business then. It's not, although it's tough because obviously everything in amateur boxing's unpaid, voluntary. It's seasonal as well, so you're expected to kind of be ready to box at the drop of a hat, like, you know, a couple of days notice. When you turn pro, it becomes a business. You make money off it and that, and I don't know. Number one, if I'm good enough or anything like that, I don't think I'm experienced enough to even think about that. But if I ever got to that point, you know, it's a totally different sport, pro boxing, totally different.
You never know though. I watched the AJ fight last night, and he was fighting Helenia, so he was 39. So you can't put age as a barrier to it.
You look at the money they're getting, you're going, you do that for the money. I'd get in with AJ for the money, but again, it doesn't work like that. And you know,
imagine taking a punch off him though.
You know, spend $1 million getting new teeth, wouldn't you? I don't know, but the lower levels, everyone sees that kind of part of pro boxing as well, like the AJs, you know, especially the past 10 years with Anthony Joshua, where, you know, money has just gone insane in boxing with the likes of Canelo and Floyd Mayweather and all that. But, you know, I've got a lot of mates who are pro boxers who are unbelievable amateurs. You know, one of them's had over 100, well, he had over 100, and I think he had about 108 amateur bouts. You know, experience to the max. But the early days, unless you kind of get a Olympic medal, or you know you've got a massive following and you get signed by Matchroom or Sky or something from the off, the early days of amateur boxing is far from glamorous. It's a lot of small halls, you know, leisure centres, kind of selling tickets. If you don't sell tickets, you don't get paid, all that type of stuff. Yeah. It's not a glamorous sport to start with. You've really got to kind of work your way up if you're thinking big. So that's another reason as well.
Yeah, I think it's similar with like the MMA as well, because I've got mates that have done a lot of MMA fights, and similar. It's a lot of leisure centres and selling tickets and
it is, people and it's a lot of it's a lot of relying on, you know, the first 2-3 fights. Your friends are always kind of, and I'm guilty for it as well, as I say, with my friends who have turned over. You know, that first 2, 3, 4 bouts, you're there for them. You're like, yeah, absolutely, £50 a ticket. You support them, absolutely. But then they start boxing a bit more, and you realise £50 a ticket every time to go to these not the most glamorous shows, and then you get to them, and you know they're expensive when you get there as well. And then you see a lot of lads kind of get to that 5-6 bouts in the pro career. The friends have probably dropped off a little bit, so they're struggling to get bouts again, because if you're not selling tickets, promoters aren't going to put you on because you're not making the money. And that's where kind of you see a lot of lads fizzle out, you know, around 10 bouts maybe, when they look promising. It's a shame, but that's the side that is a business. You can be as good as you want to be, but if you're not selling tickets, you're probably not going to go too far.
Well, it's like why people like Conor McGregor and MMA have blown up so much, because of the personality and the following behind it. I think you've got to obviously be able to work that side of things as well as just being a fighter.
Mate, look at
That's
Jake.
not enough these days, is it? It's
like with Jake Paul. Look at the YouTube boxes. Like,
oh, I know.
It's you know, I'm not a fan of it. Got to get that in there, but hey, they're selling. You know, they're making a lot of money off it because they've got that following. Tommy Fury, Jake Paul. I remember that. What fight was that? Was that on Usyk or Joshua? They announced it on a Sky show, and I remember thinking, this is a bit weird. Now it's crossing over into mainstream boxing. I think it was Anthony Yard, Better Biev when they boxed last year, might have been. But Tommy Fury and Jake Paul come out and did a kind of, you know, that WWE kind of thing in the middle of like a Sky card, which was bizarre, but they're making money, so that's why people eat it up. Yeah,
definitely. So like going back to it, obviously you mentioned that you also do the coaching side of things. What got you involved with that, and what's the reason why you wanted to do it and still do it today?
So the club I started going up to, Rainhill, up in 2020. It's a new club. It was only established in the end of 2020. So when I went up there, they have obviously the senior coaches who are still there now. And we had a kids class, and again, although I was unboxed at the time, I had a little bit more experience than some of the other unboxed lads, just from background and obviously with my dad and my brother and that. So I just started helping out at the kids class because, you know, I enjoy doing it. And then that kind of, as we kind of got more into kind of bouts and the club started taking off when we were allowed to box again after the pandemic, the club offered to pay for my coaching badges, so I went and got my level 1 2 years ago. Yeah, nearly 2 years ago. And just haven't looked back. I love that side. Probably, I don't know if it's the less getting hit in the head, but I really, really, really enjoy the coaching. It's really, really rewarding. I know I've probably shown my age there, but it's awesome watching kind of kids learn and get better and progress. It really is kind of really fulfilling for me. So, I just kind of fell into that as well.
Yeah, I understand that side of things about it being like fulfilling. Obviously, me doing my online coaching on the side of my day job. Obviously, being able to help people improve their health and fitness and seeing the benefits that they're getting in their day-to-day lives, you get a sense of fulfillment out of that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah. So what would you say to someone that is potentially looking at taking up boxing? How would you sell it to them? Like, what would you say the main benefits are, both physically and mentally?
I say, don't do it. No, absolutely do it. I always say, it's obviously, again, it's a hard sport, but we always talk about it as like, I genuinely believe, and I know it's really cheesy, it's really cliche, and it's quite rocky, but it's the best metaphor for life that you're ever going to get in a sport, in my opinion. The whole, you get knocked down, you get back up. You can't get away with it, and you get in there and you are on your own. Although we say it's a team sport because we have the club and we all support one another, that's brilliant when you're training, but when you get in and it's time to box, you're in there on your own. And again, there's no better way, in my opinion, to really kind of find out what you're capable of. If you'd have asked me 5 or 6 years ago whether I thought I could genuinely do it, although I always wanted to do it, there was a little thing in the back of my mind of, can I though? Can I? It's a really scary thing. So when I got that first one under my belt, it's one of the highest points of my life. It really is, because it's such a bizarre high afterwards, and it's not the violent side or anything like that. It's just a real test of everything: physical strength, kind of mental strength, being in control of your emotions. It just gives so many benefits, and they do feed through into everyday life. We all know the physical fitness side that comes from it is brilliant. Being physically fit is a win.
Yeah.
But being able to kind of, I don't know, assess situations when you are under pressure or under fire, and perhaps you are getting wound up or aggressive or, worked up, but being able to have that half a step back and assess it before applying a strategy, because that's all boxing is. You've got to work out your opponent.
Discipline, I imagine, a lot.
Absolutely. If you go flying in, temper gets the better of you, and you go flying in trying to knock someone's head off, believe me, it doesn't work. And you can learn that the hard way, the easy way, but the bottom line is it just does not work. You have to be calculated, calm, and kind of strategic about it, I guess. That's the exact same for life, isn't it? It really is.
Yeah, and like you said about the control side of things, you see a lot of these professional fighters saying that sort of boxing almost saved them as a way to sort of channel their aggression through a sport, and obviously, like I said, discipline as well.
Yeah.
So do you see a lot of that come through the club, like potentially aggressive kids being able to find a sort of a release?
It's a working class sport. There's, again, cliches around boxing, like flies around shit, really. Sorry if I can't swear. But
no, it's fine, go for it.
They do. It's, even you don't need anything. We have, as most clubs do, most amateur clubs, obviously an open door policy. We always say to the kids, the only thing you have to provide is a gum shield, because obviously you can't really share a gum shield. And we sell them for like £2. Other than that, you can just turn up, and that's only if you want to spar. If you just want to come and stay fit, just get in. We've got gloves, we've got everything. We want it to be, and so does every other club. There's an idea that it's got to be accessible, because other sports aren't, as much as things are trying to change. But you look at things like golf and tennis; they're expensive sports. You need rackets, clubs to play them. Even football, you need boots. I'm shocking at football. I don't know how much boots cost these days, but so it does attract, kids that basically don't have a lot to do in deprived areas. If you look at the best boxing clubs in the country, they are all in deprived areas. I think look at Liverpool. Look at the boxers Liverpool's produced, the Smith brothers, straight away. Same with Manchester with Ricky Hatton. It breeds kind of that it's a way out for a lot of kids, and we do see it. We do have kind of, we'll say, challenged youths come through the doors, and that goes back to the fulfillment we were talking about before. It's brilliant that they learn to box, but it isn't half great when you see them kind of grow into kind of more calculated, less angry kids, if that makes sense, because they've got a release and they've got something to kind of aim for.
I can imagine it gives a lot of kids a release, especially like you say, if they're coming from like a deprived area, they might not be coming from necessarily great households as well. That's
again another big part of it, that you do see a lot of kids and young adults coming through that maybe haven't had the best upbringing, and if you can provide that kind of release or that kind of purpose to them, then boss, because a lot of them, that's all they've got.
So how often do people tend to train boxing, and how long are we talking? And then also, how different is it if you were wanting to fight and spar as well? What's the difference between the training and times? And
so personally, we'll talk about this, well, the seniors and the juniors, we all have 3 sessions a week in the gym. It's a bit different as you obviously turn into a senior or more elite. There's obviously a bigger expectation to do some of your own work as well. But it's all dependent, really. It's 3 sessions aren't enough in my opinion. There's a lot around the sport, so you have to learn to box, you have to do the technical side, the fitness side, but then there's like the weight management side as well, and there's aspects of fitness that you need to find out how you like boxing, I think, and there's aspects of fitness like strength, agility, and if you've got a weakness there, work on it, because it's all applicable in the ring. So personally, I'll do my 3 boxing sessions a week. One of them's always sparring, usually on a Friday at our club, and then I'll do 3 strength sessions in between. One tends to be a bit of a lighter one, all kind of boxing specific, give or take. In the summer I like to just lift heavy weights when we're off season, and then a couple of running sessions a week as well. But everyone's a bit different,
I think it's like anything, like any sport, you need to still do the stuff outside of your actual training sessions. I help manage a football team. I also play as well, but I always tell them, like, you need to be doing stuff out of this. Like, this one training session that we have a week on a Wednesday is not enough.
No.
As well as a game on a Saturday, you've got to be doing other things to keep yourself fit, keep yourself ticking over. But that's like any sport, anything. Absolutely. Like, those training sessions you're talking 1-2 hours a week. In your case, it's 3 sessions a week, so you're probably looking at more like 3 to 6 hours. But even still, not necessarily enough.
No, it's and again, some sessions you come out and you feel like, we all have the sessions. I come out sometimes and I go, I haven't worked there, I have not worked there, and it leaves that itching for more and more. But the same with every sport. The best ones are the ones that go and put the work in. You don't have to be on the back. They go and do the road running. They go and do the strength work. This day and age as well. Again, I sound so old, but we've got like an abundance of information on our phone. We can find out anything we want. So after a certain age, I've got like an attitude of, if you don't know what you should be doing outside the gym, either ask someone, because there's plenty of people surrounding us that will be able to give you advice, or Google something. There's so much that you can find out. I know it can be hard to navigate now and then, but just start somewhere.
It can be difficult. I think obviously all the information's out there, but now there's that much out there. It's like, what is real? Like, what do we believe? But at least you're going to look, instead of just accepting that you don't know something. Yeah,
it's just just
there's always someone that's going to be able to give you some sort of an opinion.
That's it. Again, you can always direct people. I tell a lot of the younger lads, obviously with being a PT and a coach as well, away from boxing, I have quite a lot of strength and conditioning knowledge as well. So I do have conversations with some of the younger lads, 16, 17, talking about what they should be looking to do outside sessions. I've had some of the younger lads come up to me asking what I do outside of our sessions, and I'll tell them. And not all of them need to be doing it. Well, a lot of them don't need to be doing exactly the same as me, but it's just a basis. But that's just around the sport we're in as well. If I don't know, if a footballer came and asked me the same question, it would be slightly different. But that's the beauty of sport.
The basics of most things. Yeah.
I mean, football and boxing, funnily enough, they have so much in common. When it comes to kind of the necessities of like agility and fitness. It's very similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think like most sports, there's like a base of sort of strength and general fitness that you need, and then it's obviously the specificity of each sport that you go off and branch off into. So coming back to you then with your fighting, what do you do to prepare for a fight, sort of mentally, physically, diet wise? How do you go about preparing for a fight?
So with amateur boxing, it's kind of this idea that we're seasonal, so it's like September to July, or June, end of June, with some box cups, and give or take, Christmas time and that. Again, the best boxers are the ones that kind of sustain through the season. Obviously, you have peaks and troughs if there's big competitions, championships coming up, but club shows, which can happen, every week. You can get a phone call from your coach and say, "Do you want to box in 7 days' time?" You can get. You've seen it happen, like, "Do you want to box in 2 days' time?" And ideally, you should kind of be ready, is the expectation. So when it comes to preparing, you do usually get a couple of weeks' notice, but it is that idea that you could be boxing next week. You could be. I always have a little rule that once the season starts, I never kind of get more than a week or two away from what I deem my best, like how I feel. So usually what I'll do, I'll swap up. My training changes. Obviously the load comes down. So if I'm lifting weights, that comes right down, because we don't want to be sore or fatigued anymore. Focus on a lot of kind of plyo work, light fast movements, all that kind of agility work. Diet wise, I kind of, again, that's the big one with amateur boxing as well, is you kind of just have to walk around at the weight you are. If you're going up and down constantly, because you weigh in on the day, you weigh in about an hour or two before you box, so there's none of this dehydrating and then having time to rehydrate. It just doesn't work like that. So you float around. Club shows, you can be matched at any weight. So club shows are just the ones that are in like social clubs every other week. But then when it comes to championships, there's strict categories, and you've got to fall in to whatever category you say. So for me, it'll be under 80 kilograms. So I have to make sure I come in under 80 kilograms and over 75 kilograms. That's the window. So personally, I will pat myself on the back and say I have pretty good balance, so I'm able to sustain a certain level throughout the year. And then if I get so if I was to get the phone picked up now and say, "Do you want to box 2 weeks' time?" I'd probably just watch what I eat a little bit more, keep an eye on my weight, and obviously training steps up for maybe that first week, because you have that kind of boost of push. But then the week of, it's going through the motions, the hard work's done.
Deload it,
absolutely, because you don't want to get to Saturday or Friday when you're boxing and be absolutely goosed. But it is a lot of kind of, it's, I've been there as well. There's nothing worse than getting in going, my legs feel so heavy. It's just stood there going, God, here we go. But it's just, it's a bit of a juggling thing, really. It's balancing it out and kind of playing it by ear a lot, but you kind of learn to do it.
Yeah, I'm definitely experiencing that at the moment. I've got a triathlon 2 weeks today.
I've seen that on your Instagram.
I'm also playing football at the same time. So I'm trying to balance out, trying to get all my swimming, my running, my bike done, but at the same time be able to play on a Saturday and train on a Wednesday, and it's such a juggling act.
Jesus.
So yeah, I've got one more week of training, and then I'll properly deload it the week after, and just carb up basically for the Sunday.
Yeah, big time.
So last year I did one in September, but the week before I had Tough Mudder, and it's the exact same this year.
Why?
My
Why not just
second triathlon is a week after Tough Mudder.
Jesus. Well, Essence like kind of highlights the importance of recovery and just being sensible. Funny enough, I stopped playing. I used to, not seriously, I used to go and play like 7-a-side once a week up at Goals and Speak.
Yeah.
And funny enough, I had this conversation on the phone this morning with a potential client who I used to play with, just saying I haven't played for about two years. Because number one, every time I play football, I can't walk for days after. Doesn't matter how fit and strong I think I am, I cannot walk like for 2-3 days after. But last time I just managed to hairline fracture my foot playing, just because it only takes one kick, just boosted the bottom of someone's foot, and suddenly that was 2-3 weeks out of boxing. Just couldn't put any weight on it, so weighed up my priorities and went, I've got plenty of time to play footy when I stop, and I can, but I'm pushing for that at the moment. So obviously priorities take that kind of forefront.
Yeah, that's the issue I've got. So I've got a torn ACL that's not been operated on, and a whole other host of issues with my knee. So it's sort of me that I can still do like anything in a straight line, doesn't bother me. I actually played a full 45 minutes yesterday. Absolutely fine.
Just doing a triathlon with a torn ACL, sounds, so how to do it.
But in November I did a half marathon as well.
What would you do?
Anything in straight lines is fine.
Just make sure the marathon 26 miles straight on. Just do it up to 62 or something, I don't know. Anything with straight line. What would you do if one of your clients said they were going to do that to you?
Do what? Do
anything like that with a torn ACL?
I'd probably advise against it, but
it's the classic. Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, definitely. Like I went through 5 months of rehab with it, with ex-head of physio at Liverpool. That was 2 years ago now. And it's been okay since. Like I took a year off playing football and just managed instead. I got involved in training and stuff, but I've not really had any serious issues since. Touch wood.
Serious issues. What's your level of serious? Be like hanging off. That's the serious one.
It lodges out of place every now and again, which is a not nice feeling. It doesn't hurt. I can just feel like the bones aren't lining up properly.
Oh, that's
so
I'm so squeamish with things like that.
Clicks back in.
Oh god, that's horrific. That is horrific. I'm dead squeamish with stuff like that.
It's not great.
But it's a killer, isn't it?
The thing is, though, it's in the weirdest of situations. I'll be getting out the car and it'll happen, but I'll play 45 minutes like yesterday, not a single issue. It's mental. It's
when you're not thinking about it, isn't it? Like, it's probably when you're playing footy, you're a little bit conscious of it because you're like, right, I've got to. But just getting out the car, it's just getting out the car.
I'm definitely conscious of it.
Yeah.
Definitely conscious.
You heard about people. You heard about people like snapping their Achilles, getting out of bed in the morning because obviously they don't think about it. They've just lay still for 8 hours and then they just fly out of bed, and because they're not thinking, obviously pop the Achilles. It's just my worst nightmare. But
yeah, hopefully everything's okay, and then we'll see where we get to. But definitely at some point I'm going to need a new knee.
Jesus. It's one of them though, isn't it?
I've got like an A4 piece of paper worth of issues from my last MRI that I had last year. So there's definitely going to be a knee op at some point, but whilst I can still do stuff, whilst I'm relatively young, it is that though, isn't it? It's there's nothing more frustrating than not being able to do what you enjoy doing, or what you want to do. It's literally nothing worse. I'm shocking when I'm injured. Shocking. I am the worst person to be around. Just
because it's the world against me and like everything's rubbish. Can't do the one thing I enjoy, but you just have to have that discipline to step back sometimes. You say a year out of football, how much did that kill you?
It was horrible because I was assistant manager at the team as well, and we won the league.
Oh man.
So like it was nice obviously being involved with it, but like turning up every weekend, helping manage the team and stuff was horrible. But then also on the side of that, with my knee rehab, I was doing 3 sessions a week for legs, and it was go as heavy as possible for the exact 3. Like every workout was the exact same workout, so I was doing 3 like workouts a day a week that were all the same for 5 months straight. But then I got told, right, you've got to keep this up now as well. So when I started playing football again, I was still doing legs 2 or 3 times a week, as well as training and potentially playing on a week.
Fucking hell, man. Legs are steel. Legs are absolute steel.
Honestly. It became an issue though, because I put that much size on my legs and everything that nothing fit me. Like no shorts fit me. I put like an inch on each quad.
Oh my God.
2 inches on my glutes.
It's like every girl's dream, isn't it? Or it's like...
I know.
Just singing that programme, just say 3 sessions a week, this, football, bosh, done. Ready for summer 2024.
Get it done.
All my jeans
no,
become
honestly, it got to
skinny
summer,
jeans.
I put my shorts on in the summer. I was like, I need a whole new set of shorts. Like nothing fits to go on holiday.
Same, mate, I need that programme to be fair, because I've got these little pegs, mate. I've got these little skinny... tiny pencil legs that people look at me and go, you're on a PT.
I'll get it sent over to you.
It's like they're fine, they do the purpose. Don't need big legs to be a PT.
So just going back to it, you mentioned before about the amateur boxing. You don't necessarily have the big weight cuts in terms of dehydration and stuff. Wouldn't you say that was a bit more healthy? Because like my mates that have done MMA, I've been in some horrendous states. Like I've seen them in salt baths and then getting wrapped up in towels and sitting next to a radiator and just sweating out.
I mean,
would that not be like? Assume it's a lot more healthy and sustainable.
It's I don't know how the MMA works. So sorry, Mike. I know some of the lads who are in amateur MMA as well, and it's quite different. The amateur MMAs, from what I've seen, tends to be ran quite like the professional sport as well. So I think some of that, again, I wouldn't know, but I think some of them have day before weigh-ins. The problem with doing it with amateur boxing is you are the day of weigh-in, and it's not morning weigh-in, boxing the evening. It can be you weigh in. So the bout the other week, I weighed in, I boxed within the hour, which was bizarre. Really bizarre circumstances for someone senior and the weight I am as well, but it just is what it is. But it can be that. I had a bout this season where I was matched at 76 kilos. On, I don't know why it matters that it was on a Saturday. Like, now I boxed quite comfortably the season before around 76, but this season just gone, it started becoming a little bit of a chore for me to do. And I say there's no reason to be boxing at 76 because it's a club show, so it's not a strict window. It's not a weight category. You can just get matched at whatever, really. And on the morning of, I did everything wrong. Like I know exactly. It's a good learning curve, to be fair. I ate really late the night before, just because I got in from training and that quite late. So when I got up in the morning, like fight day, step on the scales, like 3.5 kilos over, and I think what bout would have been? It's like my 7th bout at this point. So like I kind of got in my head kind of my routine and like what I should weigh in the morning, and if it says this in the morning, I'll probably be like this at 7:30 when I weigh in. And I was like, no, that's fucking high, that one. Like, and I was gutted because it was our home show as well. So that was a big deal to me because it's your home turf. You don't want to miss the home show. I'd missed the first one the season before because I got a 30-day concussion ban, so that was hard enough. So I wasn't missing this one. And so basically, I did what you were saying. I obviously ate very little in the day. just really kind of simple carbs, basically things that are in and out, take the energy out your system.
Yeah.
And then obviously, I kind of dehydrated for it a little bit. If my coach is watching, he'll be shaking his head at this point. Or he knows I did it on the day, because I remember him saying and looking at me, "You look really tired." But that was the problem essentially. I was fine. I wasn't like there was no like salt bath wrapped in towels where you see them getting helped to like a chair and that. But I was empty. I was void when I got on them scales, and I was 76.3 when that morning I'd weighed like 80 kilograms.
Jesus
so
Christ.
It was
doing that.
It was stupid. Is what it was. And then I was fine. I felt fine in myself and that. Like wasn't like tired or like used or like in my chair or anything. And I box quite late because I'm just one of the heavier lads, so tends to go in like weight and experience. So in my mind, I have time to have some food, rehydrate and that, the old like electrolyte drinks and that. But when it came to, so I boxed about 3 hours later, probably, and so I drank and I'd ate properly. I'd done everything I usually did, but it just came to warming up, and I was just shattered. I had no energy. It was like every time I moved, and every time like I was warming up and shadow boxing, everything felt like underwater, or I had like weights on my feet. And there's a video of the first round.
Too much in like a short space of
Literally,
time.
your body can only, you put your body through too much. There's a really funny video from my first round. One thing I've not struggled with yet properly is my fitness, because I've never gassed in a fight because I work hard, because obviously that's something in your control, isn't it? You might not be a better boxer than them, but you can make sure that you are fit enough to work well. Fit, and that's just kind of my thing. Like, I'll never ever gas in a fight. Hopefully, you never know, but I'll work really hard to make sure that doesn't happen. And there's a video from the audience. A friend of mine's filming it, and my friend to the side of him is just going, like, obviously shouting, go on, all that. And then towards the end, like a minute and a half into the first round, he just goes, "Fucking hell, Matt, he's knackered. He's fucked." And you can just see me. You can just see me drained. Like, and you can just tell. And I just watch it and I go, "Fuck, I don't want to feel like that again." So that's just why it can't happen on the day. It's dangerous as well. You can't box dehydrated, because it's bad for your brain. It's bad for all sorts. Water surrounds your brain when you're dehydrated. It's really bad for concussions and stuff like that. So that's why it's totally discouraged. And I think it's brilliant the way they do it. You should be walking around. You should be boxing at the weight you're natural. Then there's no problem really on paper.
I said that to my mates. Yeah, my mates that did the MMA. I used to say to them, I was like, why would you not just be within a couple of like kilos of your fighting weight, so that you don't have to do this mad thing like the whole week before? Because surely that's like, because I saw some of the states they got in, like days leading up to the weigh-in.
Amateur, they're not getting paid. Like, you're not.
Oh, I know. That was the thing.
But a big part of it is obviously you want to be the bigger side of a weight class. So when you come to championships in boxing, so for me, there's 75 kilograms. So there's under 75 kilograms, then the next one's under 80 kilograms. So there's 5 kilos there.
Right.
And that's a big 5 kilos. If you're 75.5 kilos and they're 79.9 kilos, you're in the same weight category, but that's a big 4 and a bit kilos they've got on you. And trust me, you do feel that. So people will try and cut so they can be the top end. So if, I know I could not make under. I probably could. It'd take another year of no food, but I could probably get under 75. But it would drain the life out of me, and I'm quite tall for 80 kilos, but I'd be really tall for a lot of the 75 kilo lads, which is good because I've got range, and that's why people tend to do that type of thing. But
like you said, you'd be drained.
You're drained, and you'd be miserable. Like if I luckily I do work hard and I do everything right, like, sound like a PT now, but get my neat high, like, and all that. So, and I do watch what I eat, but I don't have to count calories religiously to remain where I am. and I don't want to have to box, because again, it's a boss sport. I love it. I absolutely love it. But if I had to start like going, counting calories and being in a big deficit and being hungry from time to time and being miserable, what's the point? I'm not getting paid to do it, so I may as well sit where I'm comfortable and box there and just trust that I'm good enough and make sure I'm strong enough to compete with the lads that are probably the upper level of that 80 kilos. It's weighing it up though, isn't it? Forgive the pun.
What about if you went the opposite way then? And went to like towards the top end of that instead of being towards the bottom end of it?
Well, that's kind of where I am at the moment. So it's pre-season at the minute. I've had a few weekends out on the beer and that, so and I lift.
Gotta be done.
Yeah, it's just gotta live your life as well, haven't you? So I'm sitting about 80 and a bit kilos, between 80 and 81 day to day probably. If I strip back down to where I feel good and light and loose, I'll probably be about 78 now, which is fine with me. I'm quite at peace that I could be boxing lads if I go into the development championships this year that come in and weigh in 79.8, but once they've had some food on board and drank a bit, they might get in the ring at 81, 82 kilos. But that's the same for me. If I weigh in at 78, say, which I probably will this season, and I have some food, I'll probably get in the ring around 79.5. So it is what it is. And you've got to remember, if those lads are
not massive different,
if it's done properly, no. And if those lads are natural 84, 85 kilo lads, they're going to have to do one of them cuts to get under 80. So is that going to be their advantage because they're naturally heavier, or my advantage, or someone else's advantage because they're probably going to be drained?
Can swing both ways, can't it?
Yeah, exactly. But I just don't want to be miserable. I like food.
So, it's a fair point. Same here. So I'm currently like 100 kilos. So got a bit of weight on you, but yeah, very much the same. Not too fussed about being absolutely shredded, but keep yourself ticking over and enjoy yourself.
Enjoy yourself, feel healthy, feel fit.
So I've got, exactly. So you obviously put some questions up on your Instagram story about what some of your sort of followers would like to hear you speak about. I've added a couple of them in there, just boxing related, just quick fire ones. So, what is your favourite food in preparation for a fight?
I'm boring. I eat the same. I'm dead lucky. I'll eat like basmati rice with a bit of sweet chilli sauce, peas and corn, and then some kind of protein. If it's before a fight, I usually have white fish because it's dead light and quite easily digested. And that is literally probably my diet for most of the year. Give or take that protein source.
Most of my year is just chicken and rice.
It's boss. It's obviously not everyone's the same.
Can't be if you do it right.
I say to my clients, like, I understand I'm quite lucky that I'm not a foodie. I as long as it tastes okay and it fills me up, great. So I'm quite happy to have chicken, rice, veg every night of the week.
Same.
Probably like the sauce or something might change
if you season it properly.
Yeah, boss sound. But that doesn't really change when I box either.
Fair enough.
So
then, who's your favourite boxer of all time?
That's dead cliche, but it's just Muhammad Ali. It's just always going to be Muhammad Ali. I just love him as a boxer, as loads of people do. I think he's one of the best humans that's ever lived. I just admire the man loads. Just think he's one of the...
I think that'd be a fairly common one, to be honest.
For a good reason as well, I think. I just love the man.
So then, not just who's your favourite boxer then, who's the best boxer in your opinion of all time?
Of all time? Can I use the same answer twice? It's up to debate, isn't it?
If that's...
I'll tell you why I think it's him. And this is something my dad always used to say, and it sticks with me. By the way, there's 10 or 20 that I could probably argue with, but I've just got this much admiration for the man. Number one is obviously he's technically, you watch him, he was brilliant. Number two, I think he was robbed of his best years when he was banned because of the Vietnam stuff. So I don't even think we saw the best version of him ever, which is scary. Like, but the one that always sticks out that my dad used to say was, the big losses that he had, like Joe Frazier, he got back in and beat them. I think Joe Frazier was his first professional loss. He got back in and beat him. And the best boxers, in my opinion, there's a big thing, especially modern day, about being unbeaten. I think it takes a lot more to get back in with someone that's beaten you, just to get back in with them, but then to beat them after they beat you, that's huge mental strength. And he did that a couple of times, so I just admire that side of him as well. There's a couple of people who've done stuff like that, but there's
plenty over the times. But
if you're talking technically, everyone's going to go to like Floyd Mayweather, aren't they? Because lots of people look at boxing, hit and don't get hit. Yeah, beautiful to watch.
I find them boring to watch, to be honest.
Again, that's what you like watching, isn't it?
Like, at times,
personal preference. Some people just love Tyson because he was just aggressive knockout merchant, and it's thrilling to watch him just bundle forward, and he was unbelievable.
What people pay to see, though, isn't it?
Yeah, he was technically unreal as well, but it's also exciting. So people argue for that, but it's Ali for me. Just no two ways about it.
Who's the current best heavyweight then? Fury, Wilder, or AJ? To be honest, I don't even think you can put AJ in that category anymore.
AJ, it's a funny one for me. I don't think he gets the respect he deserves, number one. I'm not the biggest fan of like his, the way he was after the Usyk second fight, but at the same time, he's devoted. I have a lot of sympathy for him because he's been a poster boy for 10 years. Whether he wanted to or not, he's made a lot of money. Yeah. He did a lot for boxing, and he's been hated from day one, and I don't really know why. But I challenge anyone to be under that much pressure for that much time and not have a little outburst like the second Usyk fight. That being said, I don't think any of them beat Fury. If he ever decides to actually box properly again. But it's Fury, but he's doing me head in at the minute because he's just not. I do think it's his camp that's been the problem. But it's got to be Tyson Fury.
Did you watch the AJ fight last night?
Yeah, well, I watched the highlights this morning. There you go, says it all. That I didn't even.
So after the fight, Eddie Hearn said that there was a 5-fight plan or something, and in that plan was the fight that was supposed to be last night. Was it Dillian White he was supposed to fight, but he pulled out, and then it was Wilder and then Fury, and I just laughed a little bit because I think he gets beat by both.
Wilder, I think, would be an interesting one. I think he's a much better boxer than Wilder. He gives himself again, I don't think he gets credit for his actual boxing. Okay, he's a bit stiff and robotic at times. You look at the second Usyk fight though,
with Miller.
But he's got two sides to him. He's got that proper dog brawler in him that everyone loved when he was just knocking everyone out for his first 20 bouts. That first Dillian White one where he was just gum shield down, bite down on the gum shield and dig in. He's got that side to him. Then he obviously beat by Ruiz the first time. And then the second Ruiz fight, he's shown that he could box on the back foot and jab a bit, and he tried to be quite like the sweet science side of it, and I quite like seeing that. I'd like to see him mix it up a bit more because I do think he can't do right for doing wrong. If he bundles through someone, he gets said, well, they were a taxi driver, do you know what I mean, who they fucking knocking tin cans over. And then when he tries to box, he gets called boring and robotic. But again, you watch that second Usyk fight, I thought he boxed absolutely brilliantly. I just think Usyk's obviously sublime, but I do think a bit of that that dog's gone out of it. I don't know if it's because he's been beat a couple of times and he's scared to be beat again, but he looks a bit nervous to let go.
Doesn't take a dig on his chin either, though, does he?
No, but I think heavyweight boxing, you can be excused for that. Like, for me, he looks scared to let go sometimes and just let his punches flow through. Last night, how long did it take him to land the right hand? Because he was a bit tentative with it, and then obviously he picked his moments, and that's the pro side coming through. But I'd like to see him box Wilder. I think that'd be interesting. I'd like to see him box Fury, but
I just think if he... Yeah.
If Wilder hits anyone, the
Fury fight's the one everyone wants to see.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. I think if Wilder catches AJ on the chin, I think it's good night, God bless, isn't it?
But I think it's the other way round as well. AJ bangs the big 18-stone men. If he catch you right,
not tiny.
I've had 50 kilo lads hit me in the gym, and it's been on the right spot, and you've gone, oh, that hurt. Like, oh, this little leg goes or something. Yeah. Like, if you get hit in the right spot, you're gonna wobble.
Yeah.
And if the 18
it's like
stone,
a switch, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't think we'll ever see any of them. I just don't.
No, I don't.
I think Fury will be done after this Ngannou fight. They're going to make loads of money off it, and it screams to me like the Mayweather-McGregor fight, where obviously I know Mayweather's boxed exhibitions since, but just set him up forever. Like, he's already a millionaire. Like, he's going to get probably... I wouldn't be surprised if this is his biggest payday. That's why he's doing it, because it's a big crossover, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's going to be huge.
They're killing it. It's just none of the big heavyweights have boxed one another.
No.
It's mad.
So, last question. This is came from one of your followers. So, you have an elevator ride to share one piece of fitness advice with somebody. What is it?
Oh my God. How big's the building we're in? How long do you have in the elevator? Probably
you've got about 100 floors.
100 floors. I'd say first get out the lift and take the stairs, you lazy bastard. No. Find something you like doing. I know it sounds dead. I sound like a preacher. Find something you like doing, whether that's playing a sport or working towards something that's important to you. I know that seems really easy on paper. I fell into fitness because I like boxing, and it made me kind of enjoy being active. And then once that happened, I was interested in then getting better by being in the gym as well. But that can be any reason for anyone. It doesn't have to be a sport. It can be getting fitter for your kids. It can be getting fitter so you can get off the bog when you're 70. Find what you like doing and figure out how to fit it around your life, because if you enjoy doing it, you're going to find a way of fitting it in.
It's a lot more sustainable as well, isn't it? Yeah. You're not doing it as a chore to burn calories, you're doing it because you actually enjoy doing it. Yeah,
that's a big ethos thing with the way I work with my clients is we're never ever in the gym to burn calories. We're in the gym to get fitter, get stronger. Your calories, anything to do with weight loss, your deficits and all that is all, as soon as you step out that building, that's when you can think about that. You getting your steps up, you're eating right. But when we're in that gym, we're working to get fitter, get stronger, get more balanced, get more coordinated. Nothing wrong with short-term goals, short-term weight loss goals and all that. But I always like to kind of say there's nothing wrong with looking to the horizon as well and looking how this can benefit you in 6 months, 6 years, time.
Yeah, definitely.
That was a long elevator ride, wasn't it? It stood there for a minute going, Matthew, this is my fault.
Where can everyone... Yeah, sorry mate, I'm getting off.
Just 1 minute, mate. Yeah,
so where can everyone find you? Where should they go find you? Is it Instagram?
Instagram's the best one. I say I'm getting old now, so I've just joined TikTok as well, but I'm still navigating it. Like, Instagram's the one at Headon PT.
World, that one.
Different. It's always it's the thing I feel like I'm on constantly, but it's the best way to find me, look at my content, and message me. Really, it's just all around the best one, really.
Yeah, I'll put all your links in the description below. So
thank you,
Matthew. Thank you very much for coming on.
You're very welcome, mate. Thank you very much for having me. I've really enjoyed that. That's it's like a therapy session, isn't it? Like.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, get something off your chest.
Here's how I view life.
So if you enjoyed this one, make sure you drop it a like. If you're new, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.
Thank you very much, mate.